Good evening, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of our racing series. This week, WDCR and VirtualMars.com bring you Spec Racer Fords at New Jersey Motorsports Park Thunderbolt. So tonight we're going to be doing things a little bit differently than we normally do. We're going to be having a standing start. We're back to our 30-minute sprint race format. These are the Generation 2 Spec Racer Fords. For those of you not familiar with the Spec Racer Ford series, it is your open/closed wheel car. Kind of built to be an open wheel car, but if you look closely, you'll notice it does have fenders, which kind of put it in this weird category of it drives and operates a lot like an open wheel car, but has fenders. So, but these Spec Racer Fords, which are designed by SCCA, are currently going through an overhaul where they are transitioning from a second generation series to a third generation called the SRF3. You may, if you come to actual racing events with WDCR, you're going to see a mix of cars. Not necessarily all people are going to switch from Gen 2 to Gen 3. It just depends on the individual. If you were to buy one of these in a box today, which is how it comes, I've been told, I've never bought one myself, but apparently it comes in a big old box of parts and you get to assemble it yourself. You would be buying a Gen 3 car, because I don't believe they sell the Gen 2 car anymore. So, there are some differences between the two, weight and power. I mean, the Gen 3s make significantly more power, but especially given the power to weight ratio, that's why. I mean, they might not be, we're not talking hundreds of horsepower, but any little bit does matter in a spec class, especially when you're changing power to weight ratios. But this series will be the Gen 2 Spec Racer Ford, which is the one that has been raced with SCCA for quite a long time. And our host has told me we're going to be starting with a standing start this week, which is a little bit different. We normally do a rolling start. Rolling starts traditionally are safer, which is why the Washington, D.C. region only does rolling starts. But this is virtual racing. We could do whatever we want. We could be crazy. We can mix things up, and that's what we're doing. I will be your host tonight, Michael Root. You're going to see me up there as number 68 in last place because I am not racing. But hopefully we will have some good action tonight. If you actually went to the Washington, D.C. region Facebook page, something that I missed, which happens especially in this multi-class racing, but somebody captured and posted, was sort of the end of the race in our Volkswagen group. And that was a really great last lap. You had the first and second place car were really battling it out for position, and it was a cool end that I wish I would have caught, but I think we were looking at the Mustangs at the time, and it happens. Just to remind you, Washington, D.C. region, we are a actual racing organization in the Washington, D.C. area. But if you want to know more about this series, you can always check out VirtualMars.com.
Green, green, green.
And there's the green flag. Our cars are off. Some good action around turn 1. Nice and clean so far. I haven't seen any wrecks. That number 65 and 19, or 66 and 19 are really close to one another. That is Greg Obadiah and Khalil Naderbov. Khalil didn't make it last week, but he's a regular virtual racer here with us. And a real-life racer in the Washington, D.C. region. Definitely some good position changes in the middle of the pack. I'm going to go ahead and jump up to the front. We have number 23, Kenneth Huzel, who is currently in first. He's got about a 3-second lead on second place, which is David Alisadrini. I won't try to say that twice because I probably butchered it. Right behind him in the number 4 car is Forrest Landry, who's looking like he's going to make a move on the straight. Forrest is on the inside. Is he going to hold it? It looks like he is. Oh, we've got some contact there. That was Sam Scott hitting the back of David Alessandri. Really unfortunate for him. But we have some time. I know these sprint races aren't that long, but there's plenty of opportunity to catch up. So there we have number 4, Forrest Landry in second place. And right behind him, we have Paul Darling in the 155 car. Keeping up very close. To give you guys an idea, that is about a 0.2 to a 0.3 second of a gap. So those cars right now, which are about averaging somewhere about a car length apart, that's about 0.2 to 0.3 of a second, just to give you an idea of distance and time. In fourth place, we have Khalil Naderbov in the number 19 car. Behind him is Kevin Fireline in the number 97. We have Stephen Phillips in the 46. There's Travis Trussell in the 140 car, just overtaking I think you just did. I mention Stephen Phillips in the 46. I did. So Travis Trussell was overtaking David Alessi, who's already back to 8th place. So he's catching up. We have Greg Obadiah, who is in the number 66 car, in 9th place. Zach Rubin in the number 7 car, overtaking for 10th place. And he's been overtaken, so it looks like Chris Hubert taking it back on the straight, but Zach's on the inside, so I think he's going to come out of this in front, and he does. So there's Zach pulling in front of Chris. It looks like the car that was on the side of the road was number 46, maybe, Stephen Phillips. Yep, there's him cutting grass. In 10th place, we have number 97, Kevin Fireline. In 11th place, number 98, Sam Scott. Right on the tail of number 97. There's number 51, Eric Jones, who is in 12th place. Stephen Phillips, number 46. We've been watching you, Steve. You've been up and down, but currently in 13th place. Alan, you told me how to pronounce this, Alan. I'm going to go with Claffey. Or is it Claffey? I think he said it was Classy, but with the F's. Alan Claffey is in 14th place in the number 39 car. In 15th, we have Jonathan Boble in the number 5. And there's Louis Alessi in the 43 in 16th place. Don Manning, number 92, in 17th place. Peter Phillips in the number 24 in 18th place. There's Dave Fitzgerald coming out of the pits. He's currently in 19th place in the number 16 car. And Francois Brou, who is in 20th place in the number 69 car. Those I saw earlier tonight. Carter Wheaton in the number 22, who doesn't appear to be racing. Daniel Richardson and Mark Cantor. So they are still here, but they are not on the track. So still in first place is Kenneth Foozle, who has a 7-second lead on second, which is a pretty sizable gap. As we look here at our second and third place, Forrest Landry and Paul Darling, they are still 0.3 of a second apart. So these guys really are keeping pace with each other. But Kenneth is just pulling away from this little mini pack here. Although there's plenty of time left in this race, so don't count any chickens before they're hatched. We're only on lap 3. In fourth place, we have Khalil Naderbroff with David Alessandri right behind him. Alessandrini, I think that's what it is. I need to stop trying to pronounce it. Just call him David, who is now overtaking, but he's not. Khalil's taking the position back. Boy, these guys are neck and neck, and it looks like David in the number 91 car is going to come out ahead on that one. Travis not letting anybody get too cocky. He is right there in 6th place. But as you can see, Khalil is taking advantage of a little bit of draft off of David to try and close the gap and get on top of him. But I think David's just currently got the ability to run the better line. He's coming out of these turns a little bit faster. That, of course, is just going to give him a little bit of an advantage over Khalil. It's tough when you're trying to make a pass through a turn, and you know, of course, the guy who's in front of you, since blocking is not allowed, this isn't technically an SCCA sanctioned race, so you know, you might see some of that, but they're pretty much going to run their line, and the line is always going to be the fastest way around the track. So if you're trying to make a pass, especially on a turn, you got to come off the line. It's going to slow you down. Unless you've got momentum to carry you through, it's really going to be it's going to give an advantage to the guy who is not having to come off the line. I do apologize if I sound a little stuffy. Season change, allergies are kicking in. I think they're finally starting to go away. But it's been kind of a week of just disaster in my headspace, so I might sound a little stuffy. I have a nice little mute button here, so if I have any coughs or sneezes, which don't happen a lot, but hopefully I'll be able to hit that. So one of the things you're going to notice about this park, and we'll go check out our first place, who is now 10 seconds in the lead. He is just way out there. And we got Forrest Landry here, who has gained 5 seconds on David. So whatever happened here, Force has just really taken, in the last lap and a half, a sizable lead on David. Now we have David in 3rd place with Khalil pretty much on his tail, about 0.6 of a second separating these guys. So as we look at this track, one thing you're going to notice about this New Jersey Motorsports Park in iRacing is, unlike a lot of the other tracks, it does not have the stands and the trees and the cars and the RVs and the people and all that other stuff you're used to seeing. So this is what's considered an unfinished track. This is a track that iRacing went out, they laser scanned the track, they built the track, so everything about the track is accurate. But they haven't done all of the aesthetics, the scenery. One thing you will notice is they very accurately represented those metal walls, which is what is present at the New Jersey Motorsports Park. And as I can attest, after about $680 of damage to my car, they are metal and they are solid and there are no tires. And if you hit them, you stop. So don't do that when you're racing. One of the rules to follow is don't hit the walls. That's always a good thing. Honestly, what I did, I never raced this track before. I raced it for the first time this year. Went out on a practice day. I did 2 laps. I thought, hey, let's pick up the speed. And then what happened was, going into a turn, I misread the turn. So as you'll see here, as these guys are going into the turns, they're pretty much putting their tires on those candy stripes, those red and white stripes. When the course designer builds a track, those red and white stripes are telling you this is the side of the track you want your car to be on. This is where tires should be touching the track, edge of track, right? So it tells you where the inside of the track is, where the outside of the track is, tracking in, tracking out, apexes, all that stuff is marked for you. All you have to do when you're learning a track is move your car from candy canes to candy canes to candy canes. So if you're like me and you go out there and you're driving a track and you say, hey, the candy canes are over there and I'm over here, that's a sign that you're on the wrong side of the track. So I misread the track. I hit a turn. I couldn't do the turn because I entered it completely wrong. And luckily there was a nice solid metal wall there off the outside of the track to stop my car. I still raced the entire weekend. It was mostly cosmetic, although it was a lot of cosmetic, but we fixed it, and now actually my car looks better than it did before because I have all new body panels. So as we're watching here, we're watching David and Forrest battle for second place. Oh no, it looks like Forrest just overdriving just a little too much and losing control there, giving David a significant leg up here, and now Khalil is going to be the one challenging David for second place. Khalil looked like he was going to make a move on the inside there, but then decided to back out of it. Probably a wise decision. It's still early on the race. We're only on lap 7. We've got 17 and a half minutes to go. We're not even halfway through the race yet. So you don't want to be doing anything too crazy. Oh, there goes David. He definitely unsettled his car in that turn, and you saw what happened. He unsettled, he lost his grip, he hit the inside corner, it looked like, and the car was bouncing around. He did a very good job of not putting that car into the wall. These SRFs really do handle and recover quite nicely from what I've seen today. I watched a little bit of the practice. There were a lot of cars doing donuts on the racetrack, which is not a recommended racing style, but they were able to recover the car and get back on track and go. So surprisingly, at least in iRacing, or maybe it's the track, but these cars seem to be able to recover quite well. Maybe we just have exceptionally skilled drivers. That's also entirely possible. Take a look real quick, see if we have any comments on our YouTube channel. We don't, but that's okay. If you want to make any comments, I will look over every now and then and check it out and make sure I answer any questions you might have. So currently, the way we're situated is we have Ken Hoozle. Ken, I'm going to give you a look, even though you are way out in front. He is about 24 seconds out in front. So Ken is just out there setting lap records or doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but he is a good 2 seconds a lap faster is what it looks like. Typically, he's about 2 seconds a lap faster than the next closest car. And that's just, I mean, that's just a huge interval that people are going to have to make up. There we see Khalil in second place. Forrest catching up. It's just really a testament to how well these cars recover that Forrest and David have both spun out or have gone off track significantly, and they are now both right up again next to Khalil. And I mean, we're talking, they are both half a second to 0.6 of a second behind Khalil. That's crazy that they're just able to catch up that quickly. So we definitely have some good second and third place racing going on here. And even Zach Rubin there in fourth place, or I'm sorry, fifth place. He is he's not that far behind the field. He's about 2 seconds behind David, but that's really not a ton. You'll see him here. There he is, coming into view of the camera. So he's really not that far away. As we come up on the lap, let's see if we can hop into the car and take a look at what it is like going around this track. In an SRF car. Really, the amazing thing about this car is just its ability to just rev and accelerate. These are not big engines. These are, I believe, 4-cylinder engines. I believe they're like a Ford Escort transmission or a Ford Taurus. It looks like we got David over there on the right who's taking the inside, but Khalil, ooh, yep, David's going to take it. See how Khalil handles this coming up. That little bit of flickering that we're getting is all likelihood lag on Khalil's end. So maybe we'll jump to David's car because Khalil's the only one I've been seeing having that lag. So these cars, these are like a 4-cylinder engine. It's like a Ford Taurus or a Ford Escort transmission. I mean, it's really not something crazy, right? These aren't. Yeah, obviously the engines have been tuned and modified, but they're not crazy. These aren't, you know, V8 Mustang engines. But the cars are so lightweight that a small engine just propels them insanely fast. Which is really the principle of open wheel driving. You don't need a massive engine if the car doesn't weigh anything, right? It's very, very similar to a motorcycle. Motorcycles are extremely fast because they're extremely light. So these really are a blast to drive, and I wanted to give us a little bit of time in the cockpit so we can see what it's like to go around this track in these completely amazing cars. And that's David overtaking Forrest. Forrest on the left in the number 4. David again going to the inside. Now David did this to Khalil, but then Forrest was able to catch up and overtake both of them. So we'll see what happens right now with David pulling that maneuver. Looks like Forrest is just going to have to let David have this lap. Just hear those tires squealing. These cars, as with all race cars, you really want to be on the edge of grip. Really lets you know that you're taking the turn. If you're doing it properly at the right angles, and you're at the edge of grip, then you're also taking it at the maximum possible speed, which really is where you want to be. So as interesting as this is, I do want to jump into Kenneth's car real quick, because somebody with a 30-second lead, he just has to be blazing through some of these corners, and I think we're about to see that. I think it's clear that Kenneth really knows this car and this track. That turn was pretty beautiful. As you can see, he's really using all the track. He's just touching the inside of the turn. That was a little wide on that one, but here you see he's just touching the inside of the turn. He's tracking back out to the outside, inside. A little bit of like a double apex on that one. Allow the car to track out. look at this speed. 110 miles an hour going down the straight. 115. About 117 before you had to hit the brakes there. Nice smooth exit through 1 and 2. He's just really smooth on this track with this car. It's very impressive. And here we're back in Force car. We see as he's coming up on David. Go back to our outside camera. Khalil still in 4th place. We got Sam Scott in 5th, Zach Rubin in 6th, Greg Obadiah in 7th, Kevin in 8th, Travis Trussell in 9th, Eric Jones in 10th, Chris Herbert in 11th, Louis Alessi in 12th, Alan Claffey in 13th, Jonathan Boble in 14th, Dave Fitzgerald in 15th, Paul Darling and Stephen Phillips both showing that they are in the pits. Quite possibly getting repairs done. They are in 16th and 17th place with 11 laps completed. You have Peter Phillips and Don Manning who are still out there and driving, both in their 10th lap. So to keep you up to date, our number 23 car, Kenneth Hoozle, is currently our race leader at lap 13 with 7:45 to go. He has got, we just crossed lap 14. He has got a 32.8 second lead. So there's just, he has far and away cemented his lead thus far, and you know, unless he does something crazy, you know, I really see Ken probably taking the checker on this one. His laps are consistently around 134.6 to 134.8. A lot of his competitors, you know, absolute fastest lap times don't even break 135. We do have David, who is currently in second, who has a 134.98. So that's the fastest lap he's pulled, and it's still slower than a lot of Kenneth's average laps. I do wonder if Force is going to run a bit of a strategy here and try to stay behind David. Nope, doesn't look like it. He's going to take as fast as he can get it. Force on the outside. Dave going to keep him there. He's going to take the inside, try to keep Force outside. But Force still able to pull ahead on that one. Just had way more speed coming out of that turn. Able to keep his lead. Or take the lead, but keep his lead that he got on the straight is what I meant. Also, the fact that these two guys are battling is going to be part of what slows them down, because as you see, they're not able to race nice, clean lines because they're sort of fighting each other for position, and there we have another position change. With Don Manning doing a little spin out behind the group, but you know, he's still out there and still racing, so good for him. But yeah, now we've got another position change. We got David out in front of Forrest. Still 17 cars on the field. But yeah, with these guys battling, they're not able to maintain the absolute perfect line like somebody like Kenneth, who's just out there just driving by himself. So he's going to continue to grow that lead as these guys continue to battle. Sometimes in racing, what you'll see in this situation, especially in a group of cars that have raced with each other for a long period of time, so you get into larger groups like, you know, our spec Miatas or our showroom spec Miatas, and these are groups of guys that have spent a lot of time racing together. The top 4 or 5 kind of are familiar with each other as drivers. Just had another car go off there. What you'll see is, in order to catch a first place runaway like this, is they may actually work together. Now, SRFs really can't work together other than not trying to pass each other constantly and mess up each other's lines. So they could kind of nose to tail a little bit without touching. Because from what I understand, again, I'm not an SRS driver, but since these cars are very much set up like open wheel cars, aerodynamics is quite important. And if you stick your front end under somebody's rear bumper, a lot of bad things can happen. So you really can't push each other down the track like you would see a pair of Miatas do. Or I've seen up to 4 or 5 Miatas do, which is really amazing to see. Essentially what they're doing is they're reducing drag, and that reduced drag for the car in the rear allows it to apply more horsepower because it's not fighting the wind, and it's applying that more horsepower to pushing the car in front of it. So what you'll see is you'll see guys nose to tail, what we call bump drafting, where they're actually touching and drafting, but the front car is going faster because the rear car is pushing it. And what ends up happening is they gain time. They can literally go faster as a pair than they can individually. And so when you have a runaway first place like this, you'll see something like second and third, or third and fourth, or fourth and fifth, or all of them get together and all bump draft, and they're doing that so they can try to catch up to first. Doesn't mean they're friends, doesn't mean they're going to be, you know, kind to each other when they catch up, but, you know, they know that by themselves they're not going to close, in this case, a 39-second gap. So, not something I think we can see in the SRFs. I don't think they can bump draft. I think that they tried it. I think the guy in the front gets the worst of it and goes spinning off in crazy directions. But, yeah, it is a racing technique that you do see. It is kind of fascinating to watch these guys, knowing that you really can't make contact. While these guys have fenders, they're a tad bit more durable than your typical open wheel car. You really can't make contact in these type of cars. It almost always results in a bad day. Not that contact is encouraged in SCCA racing. As a matter of fact, it is very much discouraged, but it is one of those things that can happen. You can have contact. Stephen Phillips is telling me that his wheel is toast. Well, he's still going to finish in 19th place there, Stephen, so not all is lost. We do appreciate you coming out. And we are coming up on the end of our race. I don't think we need to flash to Kenneth. Kenneth is probably going to win. We'll take a quick look. There he is. He is, I mean, his fastest lap is a 134 flat. I mean, that's a second faster than David here. But we are going to watch David and Forrest battle it out here for this second and third place, because it's going to be close. Ooh, a little slippy there. Maybe a little tire wear coming into play. We are currently all on lap 18. And there's the checker. So when up, and Kenneth just passed the finish line. That will be the end of our race. So this is our last lap. Let's see what happens here with David and Forrest. Who, again, we're about 30 seconds behind, so we have a little bit of time. Oh, David out a little wide. Forrest coming up, taking the inside of it as we come down to the final turn, I believe. We've got Forrest out in front coming down on the main straight, and there it is. Yep, Forrest Landry crossing the finish line. I believe that was the finish line. Again, we don't have a flag station here, and I do not know this track extremely well, but I believe they have crossed our finish line, and it was Forrest in front of David. I can go to my results page, and you'll see here the final outcome. This really does sort of give me the position at the time, but definitely everything is over at this point. So we have Kenneth in first place. As you can see, he was about... let me take this up a little bit. Kenneth, who was about almost a mile per hour on average faster than everybody else, which is kind of a big deal when you're talking the entire track. In second place, we had Forrest Landry. Third place with David. Fourth place, Zach Rubin. Fifth place, Greg. Travis coming in sixth place. Kevin coming in seventh. Sam Scott in eighth. Eric Jones in ninth. And Khalil Naderboff in 10th. So we look through 11 through 20. You see Chris Herbert in 11th. Louis Alessi in 12th. Alan Claffey in 13th, Dave Fitzgerald in 14th. I believe Dave climbed a few positions. I think he was back in 16th or 18th place, so good for him. Jonathan Boble in 15th, Don Manning in 16th, Peter Phillips in 17th, Stephen Phillips in 18th, Paul Darling in 19th, and Francois Brew in 20th. And that's about what we had for racers. Again, we had Carter Wheaton, Daniel Richardson, and Mark Canner that were out for practice, but I didn't see them on the track. So I hope everybody enjoyed our race tonight. We try to bring you a good event. We hope that you enjoy the different venues and the different cars. Again, if you want to know more about racing, whether it's track days or club racing or autocross or rallycross or solo, WDCR-SCCA.org. We'll be launching a new website soon. It's amazing. But you can also check us out on our Facebook page. And if you want to know more about our virtual racing series, virtualmars.com, virtualmars.com is your place to go to see our schedule and just get more details on entry and qualifications and all that other stuff. So I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a great evening.